Hello, and welcome back to another lesson of Algebra 2, and today we will be going over section 1.4 about direct variation and proportion. In today's video, we're going to learn how to write and apply direct variation equations and write and solve proportions. So direct variations and proportions are the theme for today. And first, let's get into what direct variation is. So what is direct variation? Direct variation, I took this from the textbook, the whole Algebra 2 textbook. The variable y varies directly as x if there is a non-zero constant k such that y equals kx. The equation y equals kx is called the direct variation equation, and the number k is called the constant of variation. So basically, here y equals kx is the direct variation equation, and then k, when it says it is the constant of variation, it means that it is the one that changes. So basically, this is going to be, say, the rate or the variable that you will be modifying in your word problem. For example, how fast you eat hamburgers. This would be your k. So a very popular and something that you should memorize, one direct variation equation is this right here, d equals rt, or distance equals rate times time. Anyways, yeah, so this means that distance equals the amount of time you take multiplied by your rate. So 2 miles per hour or something like that. Next, find the constant of variation k and the direct variation equation if y varies directly as x and y equals 30 when x equals 3. This is a word problem that is regarding direct variation equations, and although this problem is very wordy, we're going to break it down here. So find the constant of variation k. So we know that we're trying to find the modifier here, what we're going to modify. And the direct variation equation, if y varies directly as x, so this just means that if they're directly varying to each other, when y equals 30 and x equals 3. So if you remember, our equation was y equals kx. So we're finding k, we know y equals 30, x equals 3. So we know our equation that we have right now is 30 equals 3k. So this actually is very simple if you think about it. This is like pre-algebra. 30 equals 3k. Then what is k? 3 times 10 equals 30. So obviously k is equal to 10. So a very simple equation. And this is like an introduction to direct variations. So, yep, this is the solution. Y equals kx, 30 equals 3k, 30 divided by 3 equals k, which is 10 equals k. Next, this one is a little more complicated. This one is a word problem. So each day, Jonathan rides his bicycle for exercise. While traveling at a constant rate, he rides 4 miles in about 20 minutes. At this rate, how long would it take Jonathan to travel 7 miles? To answer this question, you can use a direct variation equation or a proportion. So we'll learn about proportions just in a minute, right after this problem. So we can ignore that for now. You can use a direct variation equation. That is what we're going to do. So at a constant rate that Jonathan bikes, how long would it take him to travel 7 miles? So write in direct variation equation. So because we're dealing with distance, rate, and time here, we're going to use d equals rt. But remember, this is the same thing as y equals kx. And we know that rate here is our modifier because it's in the place of the k. And as we know, 4 miles in 20 minutes, 7 miles in how many minutes? So we're modifying the rate. So first find the constant of variation r. R equals 4 miles over 20 minutes because remember, distance equals rate times time. That means that d equals d over t equals r because we're dividing by t on both sides. So as we can see, 4 miles distance over time, 20 minutes, is equal to 1/5 mile per minute. And then when we put this into the direct variation equation, in place of r, so we're substituting here, d equals 1/5t. And by using this, we can solve for this rate right here, because we know the distance, but we don't know the time. So we can input 7, the distance that we know, into this equation. So 7 equals 1 over 5t. And dividing by 1/5 on both sides. Remember, dividing by a fraction equals the same thing as multiplying by the denominator. So 7 times 5 equals 35. 35 equals t. And we have our new time. We know that in 20 minutes, Jonathan will travel 4 miles, and in 35 minutes, he will travel 7 miles. Next, here is the proportion part that was coming up. So it is said that if y varies directly as x, y is proportional to x. So here, if we relate that to this, the miles is directly proportionate to the minutes, because we can also see this because 4 times 5 equals 20 and 7 times 5 equals 35, but because we want to know the process here, we're going through all of these steps, but if you realize that, great, because they're proportionate to each other. So a proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal. A ratio is the comparison of two quantities by division. A proportion of the form a over b equals c over d can be rearranged as follows. A over b equals c over d, a over b times bd equals c over d times bd, ad equals bc. So they're all the same proportion, a over b equals c over d, but this, as you know, is the multiplication property of equality. This is just the same as this, and then this one is cross multiplying here, ad equals cb, the butterfly method. That's how I learned it as. Anyways, so this result is called the cross product property of proportion. So as we can see, we cross multiplied cross product. And the cross product property of proportion says that for b that doesn't equal 0 and d that doesn't equal 0, because they're the denominator, if the denominator equals 0, it's undefined. If a over b equals c over d, then ad equals bc. So this is just saying that if you travel 4 miles in 20 minutes, 7 miles in 35 minutes, then 4 times 35, yes, 4 times 35 would equal 7 times 20. Next, here are some proportion problems that I grabbed from the textbook and made some up on my own. So 5 over x equals 10 over 20. So how do we find x? So as we know, well, we can see that we can cross multiply, of course. So 5 times 20 equals 100, and x times what? X times 10 equals 100, has to equal 100. So 100 divided by 10 equals 10. So we know that 5 over 10 equals 10 over 20. Other people, you guys might also be able to simplify this. 2 times 5 is 10, 20, 4 times 5 is 20. So, sorry, I mean 2 times 10 equals 20, and 2 times 5 equals 10, so divide by 2 on both sides, you get 5 over 10. And the same thing for x over 33, 11 over 3. We can cross multiply to get 3x equals 33 times 11. We can also, so that was the cross multiply method, and then you can solve to find x, or we can see that here the denominator is multiplied by 11. So that means that x equals 11 times 11, which would be 121. And if you cross multiply 121 times 3 and 33, 3 times 121 and 33 times 11, you should get the same answer. Let me put that into the calculator right now. 121 times 3 equals 363. 33 times 11 equals 363. And that is the end of this video. And today we learned about, again, direct variation and proportions. And in the next video, we are going to cover section 1.5. I hope this video was at least somewhat informational. And please come back for the next video. And thank you. See you then.